Maddie Lane squinted at her computer screen. The neon glow of the monitor illuminated her face in the otherwise dark apartment. It was past midnight, but Maddie wasn't tired. She was a digital detective, and tonight, the internet was her crime scene. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, chasing whispers and shadows in the deepest corners of the web. She lived for these moments, adrenaline pumping as she hunted for the truth. Tonight, the truth was proving to be more elusive than usual. Maddie was used to dealing with cyberbullies, online scams, and the occasional stolen identity. But this case was different. This case felt dangerous. It all started with a missing person case, a young blogger who vanished without a trace. The police had no leads, but Maddie had found a digital breadcrumb, a cryptic message buried deep in the dark web. The message was strange, almost poetic, and it mentioned something called the Blackout File. Maddie had a feeling that this file was the key to finding the missing blogger. But every time she got close, the trail went cold. It was like someone was watching her, erasing their steps as she followed. Suddenly, a message flashed on her screen. It was from an anonymous sender, a user who went by the handle GhostFrame47. The message sent a chill down her spine. Looking for answers in the dark, Maddie. Be careful what you wish for. Maddie stared at the message, heart pounding in her chest. GhostFrame47 had never revealed their knowledge of her real identity before. This was new territory, a dangerous game of cat and mouse. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Should she respond? Curiosity warred with caution, but Maddie knew she couldn't ignore this. This was the break she'd been waiting for. Who are you? And what do you know about the Blackout File? She typed back, her eyes glued to the screen. The reply was almost instantaneous. The Blackout File is real, Maddie, it read, and it's bigger than you can imagine. The message was followed by a string of numbers and letters, a code of some sort. Maddie's mind raced. This was it, the clue she needed. She quickly copied the code, her fingers moving with practiced ease. It looked like a decryption key, but for what? Before she could analyze it further, another message popped up. Don't trust anyone, Maddie. They're watching. And with that, GhostFrame47 vanished, disappearing into the digital ether. Maddie leaned back in her chair, her mind swirling. Who was GhostFrame47 and why were they helping her? More importantly, who were they and what were they trying to hide? Maddie spent the next few hours deciphering the code. It was complex, but she was good at what she did. Finally, as the first rays of dawn peeked through her blinds, she cracked it. The code was a password, granting her access to a hidden server, a clandestine network buried deep within the internet. Maddie called it the Grid. The Grid was like nothing she had ever seen before. It was a treasure trove of classified documents, government secrets, and corporate espionage. But one file stood out amongst the rest: Project Blackout. With trembling hands, Maddie clicked on the file. The file contained information about a secret government project. A project so terrifying, so audacious, that it sent chills down Maddie's spine. Project Blackout was about control, about manipulating the flow of information, about shaping public opinion on a global scale. It was about making people believe what they wanted them to believe. The more Maddie read, the more horrified she became. This wasn't just about controlling information. It was about controlling people's minds. It was about creating a world where dissent was impossible, where everyone thought and acted the same. At the heart of Project Blackout was an advanced AI program called Prometheus. Named after the Greek titan who stole fire from the gods, Prometheus was designed to predict and manipulate human behavior. It could analyze vast amounts of data from social media, search engines, and even personal devices to create detailed psychological profiles of individuals. The implications were chilling. With Prometheus, the architects of Project Blackout could subtly influence people's thoughts, desires, and actions. They could manipulate elections, incite violence, and control the narrative on a global scale, all without anyone knowing they were being manipulated. Maddie felt a surge of fear, but also a sense of responsibility. This information was too important to ignore. The world needed to know about Project Blackout, about the sinister forces working in the shadows to control their minds. But how could she expose a conspiracy so vast, so powerful? And who could she trust? She knew she was walking on a razor's edge. One wrong move, one slip up, and they would silence her forever. Over the next few days, Maddie became consumed by Project Blackout. She barely slept, surviving on coffee and adrenaline as she dug deeper into the grid, piecing together the conspiracy like a jigsaw puzzle from hell. She discovered that Project Blackout was not just a government operation. It involved powerful corporations, influential media outlets, and even some familiar faces from the world of technology and social media. She found evidence of Prometheus being used in subtle ways, influencing trending topics on social media, manipulating search engine results, and even shaping the narratives of popular news outlets. It was a terrifying realization. The puppet masters were already pulling the strings and the world was dancing to their tune. Maddie knew she had to act fast, but she also knew she couldn't do it alone. She needed help. Someone she could trust to get the information out there. But who? The media was compromised, the authorities were in on it, and anyone else she could think of was either too high profile or too deeply entrenched in the system. As Maddie stared at the overwhelming evidence on her screen, a terrifying thought struck her. What if it was already too late? A sudden flicker on her screen startled Maddie out of her thoughts. Her antivirus software was going haywire, flashing red alerts and warning of multiple system breaches. Someone was trying to hack into her system, and they were good, very good. Before she could react, her phone rang. A chilling, unfamiliar ringtone that sent shivers down her spine. She hesitated for a moment, her heart pounding in her chest. Then, with a deep breath, she answered the call. "Hello, Maddie." A deep, distorted voice greeted her from the other end. "We've been expecting your call." Maddie's blood ran cold. They knew she had found them out, that she had accessed the grid and uncovered their precious Project Blackout. Fear threatened to consume her, but she fought it back, her voice surprisingly steady as she replied, "Who is this? What do you want?" "We want you to stop digging, Maddie," the voice said, a hint of menace creeping into its tone. "Delete the files, forget what you've learned, and walk away. It's for your own good." Maddie knew this was no idle threat. They were serious, and they wouldn't hesitate to silence her permanently. But she had come too far to back down now. She had to get the information out, no matter the cost. Ignoring the voice's warning, Maddie quickly copied the Blackout File and all the evidence she had gathered onto an encrypted hard drive. Then, working with a speed honed from years of late-night coding sessions, she set up a dead man's switch. If anything happened to her, if she didn't disarm it within 48 hours, the information would be automatically uploaded to multiple servers and news outlets around the world. It was a desperate gamble, but it was her only chance. She knew they were monitoring her every move, so she had to be smart, had to stay one step ahead. With the dead man's switch activated, Maddie erased all traces of her activity from her computer, deleting files, clearing her browser history, and even wiping the hard drive clean. She knew it wouldn't fool them for long, but it would buy her some time, precious time she desperately needed. As the city outside her window prepared for another day, Maddie slipped out of her apartment, her heart pounding in her chest. She had to disappear, at least until the information went live. She grabbed her go bag, a pre-packed backpack containing essentials like cash, a burner phone, and a change of clothes, and slipped into the pre-dawn darkness. As she navigated the deserted streets, her phone vibrated in her pocket. It was a news alert. Massive power outage sweeps city, millions affected. Maddie's blood ran cold. It was starting. Project Blackout was no longer just a file on her computer. It was real, and it was happening now. She ducked into a nearby alleyway, her mind racing. They were cutting the power, cutting off communication, isolating the city. Why? What were they planning? And where did she fit into all of this? A sudden crash from the street startled her. She peeked cautiously around the corner and saw a group of figures dressed in black tactical gear, their faces hidden behind masks, moving swiftly down the street, seemingly searching for something or someone. Maddie's heart skipped a beat. They were looking for her. 48 hours later, as the city slowly began to emerge from the blackout, the world watched in astonishment as Maddie Lane's story broke. News outlets around the globe, flooded with the information from her dead man's switch, scrambled to make sense of the revelations. Social media erupted, the hashtag #ProjectBlackout trending worldwide as people grappled with the terrifying truth. They had been manipulated, controlled, their thoughts and actions subtly influenced by a shadowy cabal, pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Governments denied involvement, corporations issued carefully worded denials, and the public was left reeling, unsure of who to believe or what to trust. The world had been irrevocably changed, the digital landscape forever altered by Maddie Lane's revelations. But amidst the chaos and confusion, one question remained unanswered. What happened to Maddie Lane? In the aftermath of the blackout, the search for Maddie Lane continued. The authorities claimed to be doing everything they could to find her, but many believed they already knew the truth. Maddie had become a symbol, a martyr for truth in the digital age. Her disappearance a chilling reminder of the power of those who sought to control information and silence dissent. Some whispered that she was still out there, in hiding, watching from the shadows, a digital ghost haunting the very networks she had sought to expose. Others believed she had paid the ultimate price for her courage, silenced forever by the forces she had dared to challenge. Whatever her fate, one thing was certain: Maddie Lane's legacy would live on. A stark warning in the digital age, a reminder that even in the darkest corners of the internet, the truth has a way of finding its way into the light. The question is, are we ready to see it? Gap 3S. In the days following the blackout, whispers and rumors began to circulate, spreading like wildfire across the dark web. Maddie's last known transmission, a cryptic message encoded with layers of encryption, had been intercepted by an unknown entity. Hacktivist groups and rogue agents from around the world rallied, driven by a singular purpose: to uncover the truth behind Maddie's disappearance and the sinister forces at play. Gap 2S. In hidden forums and encrypted chat rooms, a new movement was born. They called themselves the Shadow Network, a collective of digital warriors united by a common goal. Their mission: to expose the corruption and manipulation lurking in the shadows of the internet, to shine a light on the darkest corners of the digital world. Gap 2S. As the Shadow Network grew, so did their influence. They hacked into classified databases, decrypted hidden files, and uncovered secrets that those in power had fought desperately to keep buried. Each revelation brought them closer to the truth, but also closer to danger. The stakes were high, and the risks even higher. Gap 2S. Yet, the members of the Shadow Network remained undeterred. They were driven by the memory of Maddie Lane, by the legacy she had left behind. They knew that the fight for truth was far from over, and that the digital echoes of Maddie's courage would continue to resonate, inspiring others to join the cause. Gap 2S. In the end, the question remained: how far were they willing to go to uncover the truth? And more importantly, were we ready to confront the reality they would reveal? The shadows of the net held many secrets, but the light of truth had the power to pierce even the darkest veil. Gap 3S. Story by Chris Francis.